She couldn't look. Not at herself. Not at the mirror. Riley's hand shook as she gripped the hospital gown, the thin fabric offering little comfort against the sterile chill of the examination room. At 28, she had built walls higher than most people twice her age, walls that kept everyone at arm's length, especially when it came to her body. The accident 3 years ago had left scars that ran deeper than skin, marking her in ways that made undressing in front of anyone feel like exposing her deepest shame. What she didn't know was that in the next room, Dr. Nathan Cross was staring at a file that would change everything. The young physician, barely 32 with kind brown eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses, had just discovered something that made his blood run cold. Riley wasn't just another patient with body image issues stemming from trauma. She was a woman from the news. The woman whose drunk driver had never been caught. The woman whose case had haunted him for 3 years, because he knew something no one else did. Miss Hartwell. Nathan's voice was gentler than Riley expected as he knocked softly on the door. She quickly pulled the gown tighter around herself, her auburn hair falling like a curtain to hide the scarred side of her neck. "May I come in?" Riley nodded, though her voice came out barely above a whisper. "Yes." Nathan entered wearing a simple white coat over dark slacks, his movements deliberate and respectful. He didn't rush to the chair across from the examination table like most doctors did. Instead, he stood at a comfortable distance, his hands clasped behind his back. "I know this is difficult," he said, his voice carrying an unusual weight. "Before we begin, I want you to know that you're completely in control here. We go at your pace, and if you need to stop at any time, we stop. No questions asked." Riley looked up, surprised by the sincerity in his eyes. Most doctors treated her appointments like assembly line procedures, efficient, clinical, devoid of real human connection. This felt different. "I've read your file," Nathan continued, settling into the chair across from her. "The accident, the surgeries, the difficulties you've had with medical examinations since then. What I want you to know is that I see you as a whole person, not a collection of symptoms or scars." Something in his tone made Riley's carefully constructed defenses waver. "Most doctors don't really see it that way. Most doctors haven't been where I've been," Nathan said quietly. Over the next hour, Nathan did something remarkable. He talked Riley through every step of the examination, explaining not just what he was doing but why. When she flinched at the touch of the stethoscope, he warmed it in his hands first. When she turned away from the mirror during the visual assessment, he positioned himself so she could maintain eye contact with him instead. "You have nothing to be ashamed of," he said softly as she struggled with removing the gown for a necessary examination of her surgical scars. "Your body tells a story of survival, of strength. These marks aren't flaws. They're proof that you're a fighter." Riley's eyes filled with tears. No one had ever spoken about her scars that way. "You don't understand. I'm hideous. The scars, they're everywhere. Vic, Reeves, Gay." "Riley," Nathan interrupted gently. "May I tell you something?" She nodded, wiping her eyes with a tissue he'd quietly placed within reach. 3 years ago, I was driving home from a conference in Denver. It was late, raining hard, and I was exhausted. I should have pulled over. Should have called someone to pick me up. His voice grew heavy with emotion. Instead, I made a choice that changed 2 lives forever. Riley's breath caught in her throat. Something in his tone, something familiar. "I ran a red light at the intersection of Pine and 7th Street. I hit a blue Honda Civic." Nathan's hands trembled as he spoke. "The driver was a young woman about your age. She was rushed to the hospital with multiple injuries, and I drove away." The room went completely silent, except for the hum of fluorescent lights. Riley's face went pale as the pieces clicked into place. Pine and 7th Street, blue Honda Civic, 3 years ago. "That was you," she whispered, her voice breaking. "You're the one who—" Nathan nodded, tears streaming down his face. "I've carried the guilt every day since. I became a doctor because of what I did to you. I've spent the last 3 years learning how to help trauma survivors, how to treat patients with the kind of compassion I should have shown that night. When I saw your name on my schedule today, I knew it was fate giving me a chance to make amends." Riley stared at him, her mind racing between rage, confusion, and something she couldn't quite name. You destroyed my life. You left me there, bleeding, terrified. I know, Nathan said, his voice cracking. There's no excuse for what I did. I was scared, panicked, drunk. I was a coward. I've turned myself in to police. They're coming to arrest me after your appointment. What? Riley's voice rose in shock. I can't live with this anymore. Seeing you today, seeing how much pain you're still in because of my actions, I have to face the consequences. But first, I wanted to give you the medical care you deserved. The care I should have gotten you that night by staying and calling for help. Riley was quiet for a long moment, processing everything. Then, to Nathan's surprise, she asked, "Why did you become a doctor?" "Because I realized that running away for what I'd done didn't make it go away. It just left a woman, you, to suffer alone. I thought if I could learn to heal others, maybe I could find a way to heal the damage I'd caused. And the way you've been treating me today, this kindness, it's not about earning forgiveness," Nathan said quickly. "I don't deserve that. It's about treating you the way I should have treated you as a human being from the very beginning." Riley stood up slowly, still clutching the hospital gown around herself. For the first time in 3 years, she walked the mirror on the wall. Nathan started to look away, but she stopped him. "Don't," she said. "Don't look away. I need someone to see me. Really see me." She let the gown fall to her waist, revealing the intricate web of surgical scars across her back and ribs. They were extensive, testament to the multiple surgeries required to repair internal injuries and reconstruct damaged tissue. "I used to be beautiful," Riley whispered to her reflection. "I used to feel confident in my own skin." "You still are beautiful," Nathan said, his voice thick with emotion. "The accident didn't change that. It added chapters to your story." Riley turned to face him, tears streaming down her cheeks. "I've hated the person who hit me for 3 years. I've had nightmares about finding them, making them pay for what they took from me. And now that you found me?" Riley was quiet for a long time, studying Nathan's face. She could see the genuine remorse in his eyes, the way his whole body seemed to carry the weight of what he'd done. But she could also see something else, the same gentleness and respect he'd shown her throughout the appointment. "I see someone who's been punishing himself for 3 years, she said finally. "Someone who changed his entire life because of one terrible mistake. Someone who just gave me the first kind, respectful medical care I've received since the accident." "Riley, I'm not saying I forgive you," she interrupted. "I'm not there yet. But I am saying that what you did today, the way you treated me, it gave me back something I thought I'd lost forever." "What's that?" "The ability to be seen as a person, not just a victim, not just a collection of scars and trauma." Riley pulled the gown back up around her shoulders. "You're right, that you need to face the legal consequences. But Nathan, the doctor you become, the way you've learned to care for people like me, that matters too." There was a knock on the door. "Dr. Cross? The police officers are here." Nathan stood up, his face pale but resolved. "I need to go." "Wait," Riley said. She reached into her purse and pulled out a small card. "This is my therapist's information. She specializes in helping both trauma survivors and people dealing with guilt and remorse. When you get through the legal process, maybe you should call her." Nathan took the card with shaking hands. "Why are you helping me?" "Because 3 years ago, someone made a choice that hurt me terribly. Today, that same someone made a different choice. To show me kindness I didn't know existed. Maybe we both deserve a chance at healing." As Nathan was led away by the officers, Riley remained in the examination room for a few more minutes. She looked at herself in the mirror again, seeing not just the scars but the whole person. Someone who had survived, who was stronger than she'd given herself credit for. 6 months later, Riley received a letter from the county jail. Nathan had been sentenced to 3 years, with a possibility of parole in 18 months due to his guilty plea and the character testimony from several of his patients, including Riley herself. "I don't write to ask for forgiveness," the letter read. "I write to tell you that the kindness you showed me that day, helping me find counseling, testify about the care I provided, gave me hope that people can change, that mistakes don't have to define us forever. I'm working with therapists here, and I've started a program to help other inmates deal with the guilt and trauma of the harm they've caused. When I get out, I want to continue this work. I want to help both survivors and perpetrators find healing. Riley folded the letter carefully and placed it in a box with several others she'd received from Nathan over the months. She was seeing a new doctor now, a woman who'd been trained by Nathan before his arrest. The appointments were no longer ordeals to be endured, but collaborative sessions focused on her overall health and well-being. She still carried scars inside and out, but she also carried something new. The knowledge that kindness could exist even in the most unexpected places, that people were capable of profound change, and that sometimes the person who hurts you might also be the one who helps you heal. The real surprise had come 3 weeks earlier, when she'd started volunteering at a support group for trauma survivors. Standing in front of a room full of people who struggle with their own scars, physical and emotional, she'd found herself saying the words Nathan had once said to her. Your body tells a story of survival, of strength. These marks aren't flaws, they're proof that you're fighters. And for the first time since the accident, when she looked in the mirror that night, Riley saw exactly what Nathan had seen. Not a collection of scars, but a whole person. Someone who had survived. Someone who was learning, slowly but surely, to heal not just herself, but others who carried similar wounds. The kindness Nathan had shown her in that examination room had planted a seed that was now growing into something larger, a way of seeing herself and others with compassion, understanding that everyone carries invisible scars, and that sometimes the most profound healing comes not from pretending wounds don't exist, but from treating them and each other with the gentle respect they deserve. But the journey hadn't been easy. There were nights when Riley would wake up screaming, reliving not just the accident, but the moment of recognition in that examination room. Her therapist, Dr. Sarah Chun, had warned her that healing from betrayal and trauma simultaneously would be like trying to mend a broken bone that kept being re-broken. You're grieving the loss of your innocence twice, she'd explained. Once from the accident, and once from learning that kindness could come from the source of your pain. There had been a particularly dark period 2 months after Nathan's arrest when Riley couldn't eat, couldn't sleep, couldn't even look at herself in mirrors again. She called the crisis hotline 3 times in 1 week, sobbing into the phone about how she didn't know whether to hate Nathan or thank him. I feel crazy, she whispered to the volunteer. How can someone destroy your life and save it at the same time? The breakthrough came when she received a package from Nathan's public defender. Inside were copies of letters Nathan had written, but never sent. Hundreds of them, dating back to just weeks after the accident. They chronicled his spiral into alcoholism, his failed attempt at suicide, his decision to become a doctor, his sleepless nights wondering if she was okay, his terror at the thought of facing her. I drove past the hospital where you were recovering 17 times. One letter read, I wanted to check on you, to confess, to beg forgiveness, but I was too much of a coward. So I became the kind of person who could help you instead, hoping that someday, somehow, that would matter. Reading those letters broke something open in Riley that had been festering for months. She realized that Nathan hadn't just been living with guilt. He'd been dying from it, slowly, for 3 years. His transformation into a compassionate doctor wasn't calculation or manipulation. It was a man desperately trying to become worthy of forgiveness he couldn't ask for. The next day, she did something that shocked everyone, including herself. She went to the jail to visit him. I don't understand why you came, Nathan said to the thick glass, his face gone from months of incarceration. He wore an orange jumpsuit that made his kind eyes look even more pronounced. Because I realized something reading your letters, Riley said, pressing her palm against the glass. You didn't just hit my car that night. You destroyed 2 lives, mine and yours. And somehow, in that examination room, we both started putting the pieces back together. She took a shaky breath. I'm not here to forgive you, Nathan. I'm here because I want to heal alongside you, not despite you. And I think that's what real recovery looks like. In the end, it wasn't just about forgiveness. It was about recognizing that people are capable of profound change, that a single moment of genuine kindness can ripple outward in ways we never expect, and that sometimes the very person who causes our deepest pain might also hold a key to our healing. not because they've earned it, but because in learning to see us with compassion, they teach us to see ourselves the same way.